It's a review journal spotlight on college football here at the Orleans Sportsbook with handicapper Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas. And Boyd Gaming Sportsbook Director Bob Scucci. Thanks for joining me, guys. And we're going to give you 3 picks each for this week's college football games, along with our best bet. And Kelly, why don't you start us off? Who are the first 2 games you like?
I'm going to start off real simple. Air Force plus 24. I really like this Falcons team, but more importantly, I'm going to be betting against Michigan here. I know they have a great defense, but 24 points is just too much for this inept offense to beat somebody by. Plus, the Falcons always keep it close. Next up, I have Baylor plus 14. I think Bob can agree with me here. This is a way overreaction of the line. I understand they lost to Liberty. I also know that I had UTSA last week, and they beat Baylor in Waco. This line is blown so way out of proportion. That doesn't mean the Bears are going to come play. That means there's value on this team. I'm going to bite the Bears here and hope that I don't get beat.
Yeah, you know, this time of year we usually adjust on a lot of these popular college teams, and you'll see that we adjust each week on these lines. The favorites get higher and higher until some of the sharp guys put us back in line. So I think that's the case here.
So you're putting them back in line, and I'm going to be.
Plan.
I might get to that game later. Who are the first 2 plays you like, Bob?
I like Oregon over Wyoming, and might be a little bit of a public play here, but I'll lay 14 points with this team. They just have such a dynamic offense. I think it's a little bit more than Wyoming's used to seeing. Even though Wyoming's at home, I think the public might be on the same side, but I think they cover easy in this one. My second bet is Tennessee plus 5.5 against Florida. This Tennessee team just lights up the scoreboard, and they have a knack for winning close games, and this is a game that has all the makings of being one of those close games, the rivalry and everything. And Florida has struggled a little bit on offense, even though they have a great defense. So Tennessee plus 5.5.
I'm going to go with Mississippi State as a touchdown home underdog to LSU. They've been playing really well this year, and they've covered their last 3 meetings. And I'm also going to take a side on the marquee game of the weekend, Louisville and Clemson. Louisville, 3-point home dog. I mean, I think this game could be a pick 'em. I don't know if you could talk about that, Bob, but Archie Griffin's holding off on, cracking the champagne because Lamar Jackson's, now the Heisman favorite. 1,010 yards, total yards in 2 games. 6 touchdowns against North Carolina. Clemson looks good and their defense is strong, but I just don't think their offense can keep pace. What do you think about that line?
Well, it's a little bit inflated again because the public has been on Clemson every single week, and we are adjusting a little bit for them. So it is quite a bit of points for a road team to beat. But this game has gone a long way the last couple of years in deciding which teams are going to be in the playoffs. And I think this year is going to be no exception. So this is a huge game in terms of who's going to end up the college national champions.
All right, let's go to our best bets. Kelly, what's your best bet? Last week you hit it on UTSA. Who do you got this week?
You know what? I got Kansas State minus 3.5. You guys can call me a homer. I can't wait to hear about it on Twitter.
Homer.
But you know what? I'm going to tell you this right now. We're talking Bill Snyder laying 3.5 on the road. He's covered 5 out of his last 7 road games, 29-1 as a visitor. Bill Snyder is a covering machine. I think the line's a little short here anyway. I made the game 6. Again, maybe I have K-State power rated just a little too high, but I think they beat Vandy by at least a touchdown.
I like the pick. I do.
Bob, what do you get for a best bet?
My best bet, I actually have Pitt against Oklahoma State. I think the line, talk about inflated lines, Oklahoma State is another one of those public teams that have been getting more and more support from all the bettors, and we keep making that line higher and higher, and rightly so. I mean, Oklahoma State's one of those teams that they always seem to play as if they're down 3 with a minute left in the game, even if they're up 30, and that's always a good thing for people that are trying to bet on a team that covers spreads. But I think this is a little much for this Pitt team that probably didn't get a whole lot of respect after going to overtime with Youngstown State. But I think this Pitt team at home getting 14 points in a big matchup, it's a lot of points, so I'm going with Pitt.
Yeah, good teams win, great teams cover, as they say. Kelly, we're going head-to-head again. I guess I'm on the public side here with Duke as my best bet. It's not the Duke basketball team, but it's mostly a play against Baylor here. As we talked about, they lost their first 2 games at home. They just look terrible this year, in for a rough season. They lost, they were combined 50-point favorite at home, lose to Liberty, and then they lose to UTSA. TSA guys at the airport get a pretty tough D, but UTSA, I didn't even know they had a team this year. And plus, Duke's 10-2 against the spread as a non-conference home favorite, and one of the most improved teams in the football this year in college football. They beat Northwestern 41-17 last week and beat Notre Dame last year. That's our spotlight in college football.